لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
So back in November, me and my family had the amazing opportunity to perform Umrah, Alhamdulillah, by the will of Allah. So I kind of want to talk about that today, whilst I create this art piece based around the Kaaba and Masjid al-Haram. Before we do that, let me just explain what Umrah is for those who don't know.
Allahu Akbar. الله أكبر
Umrah is essentially a voluntary mini pilgrimage, not to be confused with Hajj, which is a compulsory pilgrimage that must be performed once in every Muslim's life if they are financially able to do so and if they're also healthy enough. Essentially, it's just kind of an act of purifying the soul and seeking the pleasure and forgiveness of the Creator, Allah. Pretty much it involves entering a state of ihram and wearing the ihram garments and performing tawaf, which is circulations around the Kaaba, so 7 of those, whilst making any sort of supplications to God, whilst also seeking His forgiveness, followed by a short prayer behind the stand of Ibrahim or Abraham, followed by running back and forth between Mount Safa and Mount Marwa. And upon doing that, you then either cut your hair or shave it. Women, they only have to cut it. Men, we're given the choice of cutting or shaving, and it is preferable to shave. Essentially, that is your Umrah completed. And then from there, most people stay in Mecca and Medina for, like a couple weeks and just sort of remain in that state of peace, in that state of tranquility and obedience to God. And it's also the perfect point for people to leave off bad habits and build and create good habits so that when they return, they can continue this. So for a bit of context, this was actually my first time doing Umrah, and it was also the first time for my mom and my sister. My dad, alhamdulillah, managed to do it when he went for Hajj back in 2004. So before I was even born. And to be honest, it's such a surreal experience. When you're in Mecca and Medina as well, you really just forget about all the problems and worries of life, All you're focused on is worshipping Allah, worshipping and being thankful to the one and only Creator. And it's when you're there, you truly understand the meaning of dedicating your life to God. Like, no matter how much you do here in a Western country or just in a non-Muslim country, when you go over to the Holy Land and you see just how much everyone else is doing, it really inspires you. One of the incredible things that I noticed is how much energy you have whilst you're there. Like, normally I can get like 7-8 hours of sleep in the UK and I'm really tired. But there, I mean, we were awake for like well over 24 hours because by the time we woke up, hopped on the flight from Birmingham to Turkey and then Turkey to Jeddah and then from Jeddah to Mecca. From there, we just freshened up a little bit and then went straight into performing at Umrah. Like, we had so much energy going into it. I mean, granted, I did have like 3 coffees, but still, it was, like, alhamdulillah, you just have so much energy. And even afterwards, you get like a little bit of sleep, like less than what I would hear. SubhanAllah, I was able to just go around and do so many different things with so much energy, alhamdulillah. Okay, so the main drawing is done. There's still some details that need to be filled in, but we'll do that along the way. I'd say for me personally, my favorite moment, aside from the actual Umrah itself, was honestly just going up to the rooftop around like the Hajj time, or even like the last hour of Asr on a Friday. Those times where it is amazing to make dua and just pouring your heart out to Allah. There was just so much peace and tranquility there. So it's busy. It's busy. That's one thing. Coming out of the salah, oh boy, be prepared for the crowds. But even still, with that, it's hard to explain, but it's a peaceful busy, and I know that makes no sense. It's an oxymoron, but you won't understand it until you're there. So the way that we actually did our Umrah was that we came from Birmingham to Turkey, from Turkey to Jeddah, and then from Jeddah straight to Mecca. We spent a couple days in Mecca, and then from there we went to Medina. Spent a few days there, and then went back to Mecca and performed a second Umrah. Unfortunately, I never got to perform that second Umrah because I got quite ill. Alhamdulillah, my parents and my sister, they managed to perform their second Umrah. That's one thing that you can't really be prepared for, in the sense that you can avoid it, because it's something that's kind of unavoidable. Just have it in the back of your mind that, yeah, there's like millions of people there. There's a high chance that you'll catch something, and it's by the will of Allah, you know. I enjoyed Medina, like I enjoyed it as much as I could. I enjoyed obviously going to Masjid Nabawi when I was able to, but I wasn't able to enjoy it as much as I did with Makkah the first time we went there. Like literally, that was alhamdulillah amazing for me, and I hope and pray that anyone watching this that wants to go, that they are able to go at some point, inshallah. Alright, so just a couple tips and tricks for anybody that's planning on going. First of all, I would recommend getting these dua cards. Essentially, it just tells you what duas to read at what time when you're performing your Umrah. It's very easy to forget, so they helped. I think it was like it was either my mom or my sister that ordered it. So I'll try and drop a link in the description. Second, I would say try and find out which gate will lead you to the Kaaba. For those who don't know, and we didn't know when we went there the first time, the Kaaba is not really too accessible, unfortunately. Prior to COVID, you could go through most gates and you would end up by the Kaaba, and you could go pretty much any time down to the bottom floor. Obviously, it would be busy. It's busy year round. Since COVID, they only allow the pilgrims to go down. So if you're performing Umrah and you're in the Ihram, then you can go. Any other time, you can't go down to the ground floor by the Kaaba. Obviously, you want to get as close down to the Kaaba as possible. If you do it on the first floor, second floor, you know, it's great, but probably a lot better to do it by the Kaaba. Sometimes, because of all the works that they're doing with the extensions, certain gates might be closed, certain ones will be open instead. So it's best to just ask the guards. I believe with us, when we went, it was gate number 1 or gate 76. Third thing I would say is try and get to the Salah as early as possible. It's a highly recommended act to do so. But also, it gets filled very quickly. And if you are trying to get to a certain spot in the masjid, then it will be quite difficult to do so if you perhaps went slightly later. This is especially true for Masjid al-Haram, but Masjid Nabawi, you don't need to be as early as Masjid al-Haram. You should still be early. You can pretty much get a space inside, outside, wherever in Masjid Nabawi, but with Masjid al-Haram, it gets packed really quickly. And if you, for example, want to go to the rooftop, you might not be able to if you went like 5 minutes before the adhan. So it's quite important that you go early. Fourth, depending on which gate you enter at in Masjid al-Haram, it can be quite difficult to find wudu facilities. Sometimes you can find them no problem, other times they might be a bit too far away. It would probably be better if you performed wudu from your hotel. So this next tip, you don't necessarily have to do, but some people might find it helpful. Any du'as, both from Quran, Sunnah, and personal, perhaps you want to write them down in like a little notebook, because some people, they have so much that they want to ask Allah for, they might feel like they'll forget something. Maybe even with like a list of people that you want to make dua for specifically. It's an option for people who feel like they might forget otherwise. And finally, probably one of the most important things I'd say, just kind of like pour your heart out to Allah, you know? Just whatever du'as you want to make them whilst you're there. Make them afterwards, of course, as well. The prayers don't stop after. That goes for salah, that goes for du'as. Focus on building that connection with Allah, seeking His forgiveness, of course. Just building that love. So yeah, those are my tips and tricks. If anybody has any other questions, then feel free to drop them in the comments down below. I've also realized I haven't really talked about the actual art piece itself. This was from a picture that I took. I did it from that because it felt personal. It's a mixed media piece. It's using oil pastels, pencil crayon, POSCAs as well. I believe that was it. Yeah, that was it. And to be honest, this took way longer than I anticipated. I looked at it like at the image and I was like, yeah, cool. This shouldn't take too long. Lo and behold, it took me way longer than I thought. Because there's just so much details, especially with that bottom part, the pattern on the pillar. That took quite a while. But alhamdulillah, we finished it in the end. I'd love to know what you guys think of the artwork in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching and sticking through to the end. Like I said, I hope that inshallah anyone that's watching this that wants to perform their Umrah, their Hajj, I hope that inshallah they are able to go. And also, by the time this video goes out, I believe will probably be in the middle or towards the end of Ramadan. So wishing everybody a Ramadan Mubarak, and I hope that Ramadan has gone amazingly this far for you all, and I hope that the remainder of it will continue to go amazing for you all.